Yours okay? Okay. It's not bad. I usually like chairs with arms, but don't worry about it. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm a little bit nervous. You know, I've never been this open about one of the worst experiences of my life. So, we'll see how it goes. Am I allowed to drink, or is that loud on here? Okay. So, how would you like this to begin? I don't know if you want one of those cliche ways about, I guess it all started here, or whatever. Okay.
I guess you could say it all started up in Collingwood, Ontario. My eldest daughter had a dance competition in Blue Mountain, which is well known for its ski slopes. But I also discovered that right around the corner from our hotel was a course called Monterra Golf. Thankfully, one of the days I had a couple of hours free and I figured I'd squeeze in 9 holes. It was one of the nicest days we've had in Ontario all year, so I had to capitalize. And it's a nice opening hole, being a very short par 5, so I pulled out my driver, which I've been hitting fairly well this year, and I smashed one right into the right side of the fairway. And even though it is a short par 5, when I got to my second shot, I wasn't sure if I wanted to go for the green, because there are a couple of bunkers at the front of the green. But thankfully I was paired up today with a couple of members from this course, and they gave me the assurance that if I went a little bit long of the green, it wasn't going to be a big deal. But that was all for naught, because I attempted to draw into the green and just overhooked it a little bit. I did clear the bunkers, but I stayed a little bit short, and you can see that my attempt to pitch on here was not good. But thankfully, it being a par 5, I still chipped and tapped in a par putt here. Good start to the day. And this hole ended up being a microcosm of my entire round, because nothing came easy. I didn't do myself any favors on hole 2 because I really overthought this. It was only 110 yards to the center of the green, but I noticed that there was a bit of a ridge past the pin. So part of me was wondering if I should play it a little bit long and let it roll back, or if I wanted to play a little bit shorter. And you can see on that swing, I just got caught in between both and I pushed it off to the left. Thankfully, when the ball landed on the fringe and rolled back a little bit, it got caught up in the rough, so it wasn't too difficult of a pitch on, and I kept it really close to tap in for another par. So teeing off on this third hole, I was happy that I was even through 2, but I was also thinking about how I wasn't really playing very clean at this point. The goal here was to hit a nice easy draw with my 7-iron, which is usually a pretty confident shot, but I overcooked it a little bit again here, and I end up in the rough. It seemed like I'd be okay, but by the time I got to the ball, boy was that deep. After clearing those chunks of grass, I knew it was going to be really hard for me to even get close to this green in 2, but I tried my best to muscle it out of there, and did not do a great job. It ended up in the left rough. At this point, I'm just trying to save a bogey, and thankfully you can see a little bit more of the ball here, so it was sitting up with a chance for me to still get under it and not have to fight too hard. I did fall a little bit off balance, but I actually hit a really nice shot. The ball went directly over the pin and just ended up at the back of the green, so I'm leaving myself a really nice chance to 2-putt for bogey here. And holy crap, the putt actually dropped for par, and you can hear my thoughts here.
Not the way I thought I'd make a par, but I'll take it.
But the positive vibes quickly disappeared as we got to the next tee, and the group ahead of us waved us through. Now, I'm not complaining about them letting us pass through, but the timing for it was awful for me. I was just coming off a hole where I fought for a really good par, but I was thinking about how deep the rough was, and this was a really narrow tee shot, so I was trying to play a 5-iron just to get into the fairway, and it didn't even work. I felt a little bit rushed with my swing, pushed it off to the left, and then I was having a hard time even finding the ball. So for me, you don't see it on camera, but I'd been scurrying around trying not to slow these guys down after they were kind enough to let us play through, and I was feeling really rushed by trying to find my ball. So after having to muscle my second shot out of that deep rough, my third shot was also out of the rough, and I sailed that one past the green. It ended up being down the hill, and I had to try and pitch it on, and that came up short. So I'm already approaching this ball in a really frustrated way, and you can see me just really half-ass that chip shot. So even though I approach this putt and know it's for double bogey, I'm not even lining it up. I'm just spiraling at this point. Part of it is that I feel bad because I've slowed down the group after they let us through, and the other part is I feel like I just wasted those opening 3 pars. And this is where it just compounds into a bigger issue. I knew from the layout of this hole that the one spot I did not want to miss was left, so why my feet were aiming so far left is beyond me. Even though this is a fresh hole, I was still playing with the mindset of feeling rushed from the last one and being all frustrated. The only saving grace is that I did stay in bounds, but I had no look at the green, so I had to punch out to the fairway here. Thankfully, I ended up being about 100 yards into the green, which is a really nice comfortable distance for me, so that swing at least felt good. It was also one of the cleanest divots I've ever taken on a swing, so I made sure to replace that, because if you treat the course nice, it will treat you nice too, right? At least that's what I was thinking as I stood over this putt, hoping that it would drop in for par to reward me for dealing with the recent frustrations. It did not, but I did leave myself a manageable bogey putt, and it was really nice to see one of my playing partners drain an absolute beauty. But unfortunately, even my attempt to give him a congratulatory fist bump was just as messy as my previous holes. And speaking of messy, I missed the bogey putt. That's a double bogey. Thankfully, the next hole is a get-right hole because it's a short par 3. There is some water off to the right, so I aimed a little bit left to try and draw it in order to avoid it, but you can see that it just kind of stays straight. And although the ball is on a little bit of a side hill, it was propped up nice in the rough. And I'm generally pretty confident on a shot like this because I just take my 60 degree and swing it on the same angle as the slope. But I ended up being just short on power, and it leads to a 2-putt for a bogey. And as frustrating as this 3-hole stretch has become, I'm also thinking about the impacts of uploading it to YouTube. If you're still with me in this video, thank you. I hope you're enjoying the pain. I hope maybe you're learning something. Click that like button, and if you haven't already, click subscribe. There will be better rounds. Let's bring some positive mojo. And my attempts to bring some positive thoughts back into my mind seem to work, because as I step up to the 7th hole, I pull out my 5-wood again, and I have a nice safe shot that ends up in the left side of the fairway, leaving myself about 130 yards into the green. I put a nice strike on this as my second shot, and I know it's a little bit difficult to see on the video here, but it's very similar to the second hole par 3. When I end up a bit short of the green, it starts to roll back towards the water but catches up just enough in the rough that I have a chance to pitch on and putt to save a par. And I just burn the edge of the cup, leaving myself a relatively short putt. That I miss. There's a bogey again. Looking back on it now, that's a bogey that I actually should have been very pleased with, because I got very lucky that ball did not roll back into the water. But I was just disappointed in myself for bogeying after leaving myself such a nice shot off the tee. The 8th hole is another par 4, and I had contemplated using my driver here, but my playing partners had told me that there was a creek that was about 240 yards away, and I wasn't sure if I'd be able to clear that with my driver. So I used a 5-wood and pulled it a bit into the side rough. When I got up there, I realized that the creek was actually pretty dry, so I probably could have still tried driver anyway. Regardless, I hit a decent 7-iron, I just pulled it a bit off to the right. I have a chance again to chip and putt to save par, but I didn't really leave that as close as I should have after that chip. So I missed the par putt, and there's another bogey on the card. This is why, when rounds are going bad, I like to play nice courses, because look at this view. And as beautiful as it is looking out over the clear blue sky and the mountains in the horizon, I was also loving the view that I could finally pull out my driver again.
Wow.
I clearly had some frustrations to unload, so it was nice to finally be able to bring out the big stick again. And I wasn't sure if I went too far left, but my playing partners assured me it was probably still in the fairway. Okay, sweet. That left me with about 200 yards in, so I was playing a little bit conservative here by just pulling out my 5-iron, and I tried to hit a draw so I was leaving myself a little bit short of the green, but you can see that I stand up through my shot here, which I'm noticing has become a really big problem with my swing, and that's one of the areas I need to fix. Thankfully it stayed in play, and I had a little bit of a pitch shot on from the rough. It landed a little bit shorter than I had planned to, but I actually got a really good bounce and ended up on the green, and now I have a birdie putt. Can you believe it? But I totally pulled that. Not good, but somehow I finally got a par again. And while this is the worst 9 holes I've had in recent memory, I can look at it with some silver lining. At least even when I'm struggling my most, I still manage to play slightly better than bogey golf. Moving forward, I need to make a focus to be more patient on the golf course. Not allow myself to feel rushed, and certainly need to stop beating myself up over bad holes.
Whew. Okay, we made it. That wasn't so bad. I'm still alive. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And you know, why not reach out to me when I have a good round sometime? That might be kind of fun. Don't you think? All right. Thank you so much.
Do I have to do anything with this or just leave it back where it was? Thank you.